Hola, mujerones. Bienvenida again to the Mujeron podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, health, wellness, how to improve our healthy habits. We're going to be talking to a very special coach. She is the Latina health coach. I love her name, and she's going to be helping all of us Latinas regain that strength of having a healthy lifestyle, living a healthy lifestyle. And I think that this is going to really help you if you are currently looking to either switch into a healthy lifestyle, or if you're already in it and you want to just share stories and listen more about the Latina health coach. Stay tuned with us. So Karla Salinari is a holistic health coach based in Brooklyn, New York. Her experience with pregnancy opened her eyes to the importance of nutrition. After gaining 82 pounds while carrying her daughter, she began to explore new avenues to better nourish herself and her family. Karla began by replacing the unhealthy aspects of her diet with whole foods and higher quality ingredients. The results were a healthier body weight and a better relationship with food and a happier outlook on life. Thank you so much, Karla, for joining us today. I'm so excited to listen more about your story, your journey, and see how you can help us as well to live a better life and have a better relationship with food. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia, for having me. It's a pleasure to connect with the new platform and get to know you and your listeners and talk more about health and wellness as part of the Latina culture and as it relates to us and how we grew up, because I feel like that just brings so many different women together. So thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. So your story kind of begins, or your journey kind of begins with your pregnancy.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about that journey.
Sure. So, like a lot of Latinas, I was raised in a house where we never were really taught about the importance of nutrition, even though we knew what it was like to be on a diet. It's two very different things, and we can talk about that a little bit later. And I always knew I was always a big bone girl growing up, I should say. And it was always something that was brought to my attention growing up, right? Like, cuídate, no comas mucho, da, 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 da. And so, because of that, my relationship with food suffered a little bit as I grew up. And I found myself after having left home and just, I think it was in high school and like my first years of college, it became this mildly unhealthy relationship with diet and exercise. And what fad diet is it? Like the cabbage soup diet? Is it like vamos a tomar líquido, or let's go to the gym every day? So there was never like this healthy balance between the two. It was all or nothing mentality, which I know that a lot of Latina women can relate to.
Guilty.
So I know so many of us are guilty. And I know I speak to a lot of Latinas that say, my God, the same thing happened to me, right? And I was speaking to a colleague of mine that said, we grew up in a culture where it was, cómete toda la comida, but then it was like, no comas mucho que te pones gorda. So it was, there's never like that balance, right? Because there's that lack of education, right? So it's not, no te comas toda la comida, is o cómete la comida, but it's cuál comida? Is it healthy comida? Is it unhealthy comida? So if we're never really taught that, we're just told this is good, this is bad, do this, don't do that. So, in my experience, that's just how I developed a mildly unhealthy relationship with food. And I say mildly unhealthy because I didn't feel like I needed to seek therapy. And I know that this is a very sensitive topic that shouldn't be spoken about lightly. So when I get pregnant with Carolina, who is now 6 years old, I just let myself go. I'm like gonna eat everything that I deprived myself of eating while I wasn't pregnant, because I had to look a certain way and fit a certain body type, and all because of how we grew up, right? So I was just having dessert after every meal and not doing the things that I was supposed to. So for me, it was a free for all. I was really, really eating for two, which we know now that that's not the way that you do things. So after Carolina's born, I'm sent home, right, with this baby and all of this unhealthy weight that I have to figure out how to take off, right? And it was something that was weighing on me very heavily because I knew that I had a mildly unhealthy relationship with food. So I decided that I wanted to go back to school and become a health coach. But in that moment, it was just to become a health coach for myself because I wanted to understand how foods affect my body. If I eat this with this, what will happen? If I don't eat this and I do eat this, what's going to happen? Because it is very easy to get caught up in the wonderful world of the internet where everybody has a different story that works for them, but that doesn't mean that it works for you, right? But it's easy to go down this rabbit hole of I'm going to do keto or I'm going to do no carb or intermittent fasting or paleo. And then you're bombarded with all this information and then you try it all at the same time and nothing works and you're frustrated and then you go and you have a pint of ice cream, right? It's so relatable, right? Everybody can relate to that.
Definitely.
So I knew that I needed to figure it out for myself. So I enrolled in a nutrition school called IIN, which is the #1 top nutrition school here in New York. And it was during my time in nutrition school, Sonia, that I had so many aha moments that I thought, I need to share this with my community. More women need to hear this. Like, eat with purpose. Understand the food choices that you're making. No comas por comer, right? That's a something that we, that is really important. Like, we eat to satisfy hunger, right? But we don't understand why the body is telling us it's hungry, right? The body tells us that it's hungry because it needs nutrients, right? So before all of this, my stomach would rumble, right? I would grab a Snickers bar, I would eat it, my stomach would stop rumbling. Like, that was, I put a band-aid on the problem. Then 2 hours later, I'd be hungry again. And I said, why am I hungry? I just had a Snickers bar. Of course, because I'm spiking my insulin levels, right? So the stomach needs food, right? The body needs nourishment and it asks you for nutrients in the form of hunger. And I'm like, wow, what, mind blown, like, more Latinas need to hear this, more women need to hear this. So I said to my husband, Joe, I'm like, I'm going to start a blog and I'm going to start talking to other women who are on the same boat as me. And in that moment, it was like other moms that were trying to get their pre-baby body weights back, which is a ridiculous thing, right? Because our bodies completely change the minute that we have a child. Our hips are never going to be the same, and that's okay. And that's an amazing thing to that's a wonderful thing to celebrate, right? You just gave birth to a human being, and we're punishing ourselves because we don't fit into the same genes that we did pre the baby weight. Like, let's get rid of that mentality. But in the moment, I still had that, and that's okay. That's all part of the journey. So I thought, I'm going to start just talking to my girls. I'm going to start talking to my people. And I just started to share healthier recipes and just talk about the things that I learned. And in the moment, I was just communicating in English. And after a while, I'm like, I'm completely fluent in both languages. I'm like, I need to start sharing this in both English and Spanish because I need to talk to más mujeres. I need to communicate with the masses because this is transformative stuff. This is important things that we need to talk about, and that's how it started. And here we are 4 years later, the Latina health coach was born. And that's what I do. I not only share healthy recipes, but I explain to you why they're healthy, right? So that you can eat with purpose, so that you can fall in love with foods that love you back. And in turn, heal your relationship with food, assuming that you might have like an unhealthy relationship with food, or maybe you consider yourself an emotional eater, which is also very common in our culture, right? Te sientes triste, ay, me voy a comer este pedazo de flan, right? So understanding that not that pedazo de flan is going to satisfy you for all of 5 minutes, and then it's going to make you feel worse than it did before you ate it, right? So understanding that food is meant to heal you. Food is meant to nourish you. It's meant to give you energy, right? So when we know those things, we naturally choose differently. And when we choose differently, we naturally lose weight, we sleep better, we have better mental focus, our hormones are balanced, which means we're in a better mood, our period can regulate, right? And everything just starts to fall into place. And
Yes.
that is the purpose behind what I do. I'm like, ladies, you need to hear this. Please listen to me. I have the solution to your yo-yo dieting. I have the solution to, let's change the narrative. Let's flip the script and let's eat with purpose and fall in love with food. Sonia, going back to our heritage, our culture. Like, we have an overabundance of amazing food that is not only incredibly delicious, but so healthy for us. Yet we spend millions of dollars on shakes, protein bars, 100-calorie this, that, and the other thing, when we should just embrace the culture, embrace the food, and embrace the nutrients and go back to basics and just, heal from the inside out. And I mean, it's an amazing way to live. I mean, for me, I got asked once, what is it that keeps you going? And for me, what keeps me going is how good I feel. Waking up on a Monday and not feeling like I need to start a new diet is really great. Talking to other women and encouraging them to comete los frijoles. It's okay. Upgrade them with culantro, cilantro, perejil, pimientos, ajo, all of those amazing flavors that are so aromatic and good for you. It's okay to eat them. Don't be afraid. It's great. So that's how my journey began. And that's why that's when my mission is to talk to as many Latinas as I can about the importance of flipping our relationship with food in order to heal and in turn lose weight and feel better, and also, more importantly, pave the way for the next generation of women, right, of children, so that they don't have to suffer like a lot of us have had to suffer, right? So that they don't feel like they're prisoners of their own body in a party where they can't have the pastelitos and the croquetas because they feel like they're going to gain weight, or be a prisoner of these fajas that we have to wear all the time because we're forced to look a certain way. And that's another thing. We have to heal our relationship with our bodies and with ourselves too, because you can change a body you hate, right? And I say this all the time to the women my clients, the women that I coach. I say, how many times don't we pass by la vitrina, or like, the storefront, and we look at our reflection, and what do? Mete la barriga para dentro, right? We're like this. We always have to fix ourselves because we have to look skinny and because we have to look like this. How about we embrace the fact that this body created children, that these breastfed our children, that these hips bared children, that these, and when you change your relationship with your body, then you naturally want to make better choices. You naturally want to eat better and do better. And then it's completely life-changing. It really is.
Yes. There's so many things that you touched on that I'm like, yes, yes, I can definitely relate. And I'm pretty sure a lot of the women listening to us can also relate to this. I really want to dive deeper into fixing like that relationship with food and how we can start to navigate through that. How can we really start to begin unpacking, right? What are those things and those relationships, maybe those habits that are not really allowing us to become our best version of ourselves when it comes to our wellness? What would you say would be like the first steps we can take in order to fix our relationship with food?
My advice is to do one thing every day that is a step towards reaching your goals, whether that is eating more vegetables at lunch, right? Or maybe one day a week you don't have meat, right? Or maybe you eat seasonally, right? So you upgrade. Maybe right now here in New York, it's still winter, so we have a lot of winter vegetables. So maybe it's, we're having delicata squash, which is something that maybe you've never had before, and like trying it out. It's 1%. By the end of the year, it's 365 things that you did differently, which I promise you is a huge leap towards your goal that maybe at the beginning of the year you never thought you would capable of. Right. And also, reading. I can't express enough the importance of education here, right? Like if you don't know what it says on the back of a label, research it, right? And I promise you, more times than not, you're going to choose not to have it, right? Because there's so many additives, there's so many things that are included in our foods these days, that if people really took the time to research these things, we wouldn't put it in our body, much less we wouldn't give it to our children. So my advice is to do that. Take the time to flip the product around and read it, and if you don't understand something, look it up. Just that little change. Another day, add one more serving of vegetables onto your plate. Just something. Maybe one day you hear a song that you really like, right? And you get up and you dance to it. That you're moving your body, you're getting your heart rate up. So here, every day you do one thing different. That is 1% change. And you start slow. And I think that a lot of these diets, a lot of these fad diets and challenges, right, are really just setting us up for failure.
Yeah.
One, because it becomes an all or nothing thing. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to eat this, and not eat this, and this, and this. You're like, whoa, like I've been eating this way for X amount of years, and all of a sudden I'm just going to change. That never works. It sets you up to fail. And 90% of the time, it's unsustainable, and you're going to feel worse for giving up than you did when you started, right? So if every day you change one little thing, you don't feel like you're stuck in this diet. You don't feel like you're stuck in this restrictive place, right? And you're making choices based on the things that you like, but it's also healthy as well.
Yeah, and I can definitely relate to that all or nothing mentality that I feel
Yeah.
like for the maybe half of my life up to this point, that's been more than half of my life has been my mentality. All or nothing. And
Yeah.
it's so hard on ourselves, and not only on our mental health, but also on our body, like that fluctuation and just taking it into like this intense mode, losing all that weight and then gaining it again. It hasn't really been such a good journey for me. And I am constantly working on that because, lifestyles and you're just going through so many phases in life that
Mm-hmm.
your body will also change with it. So what are some of the things that you can give us advice on embracing those phases, right? Like you said, pregnancy is one, or, whatever life kind of throws at you. Sometimes you're not going to look the way you looked, when you were doing those really, really strict diets.
Sure.
So, how can we really accept those phases?
The best advice that I can give you is look within and analyze how you feel,
Mm.
right? How do you feel in this moment of your life, right? Are you feeling like you can sleep better, like there's a lot going on in your life and like you're lacking sleep, which is super important. A lot of people don't really take sleep into consideration, or seriously. That's a better way to explain it. And adjust those little things, right? Because when you feel good, it's easy for you to want to make better choices, to want to make healthier choices. Like one afternoon, if it's a nice day outside, go for a walk. That is a form of exercise. We are stuck in this mindset that if you're not sweating profusely, unable to catch your breath, or at a gym, or in front of your computer, or in front of your television at home, that's not exercise. That's not true. Going up and down the stairs, pasando mapo al piso, doing laundry, all of these things, going for a walk, dancing, these are all forms of exercise, right? But again, we're stuck in this all or nothing mentality, right? And we embrace the changes. Like if you're not able to go to the gym because you are transitioning, or because you are, living in a new home and you can't, then you adjust and you make those changes based on the things that you could do, right? And you embrace the changes. I'm actually going to do a live that everybody can go on my page and watch it after that. I'm going to be talking to a style expert about accepting your body at every stage of your journey, right? Like I know that for a lot of Latinas, we're like, I'm in between sizes. I'm not going to buy a dress for the party because I'm waiting to lose weight. No, buy the dress for the party and embrace your curves, embrace how you look, embrace this new version of you, because I can guarantee you that you might look different, but you're a lot smarter, you're a lot wiser, you have a beautiful family, you're in a completely different stage in your life. So embrace that, right? Also, so many women are also in this mindset of, I'm not going to buy clothes until I get skinny. No, I'm not going to do it. Why not? Why don't we buy pieces? And that doesn't mean that we should give up on wanting to shed some weight, or that doesn't mean that. And I don't want people to misinterpret what I'm saying, but let's love our bodies enough to want to change it. And I'm sorry, but no matter at what weight you are, at what stage in your life, if you put on a nice dress, a nice pair of earrings, a little bit of lipstick, and you put your hair in a bun, you feel really good. Right? And if you feel really good and there's a plate of pasta and there's a plate of salad with a piece of, I don't know, tofu or because you feel sassy and you feel really good, that plate of veggies and tofu and veg and whatever salad is going to make you feel better. And I guarantee you're going to pick that. Right? So let's promote, dressing for every stage of your journey, not just when you're skinny, not just when you got your baby body back, right? Because look at everything that this body does for us. We have to love it, honor it, and respect it, no matter at what stage it is. And I promise that everything is going to start to change the minute that we do that. And another thing that's really important to address here, Sonia, is these things take time. Even for me, that I talk to a million people all the time. Anybody who's going to listen to my story, I'm going to tell my story too, because I feel like if you spark a little bit of curiosity, people are going to want to, continue on that. Sometimes it happens to me where I'm just like, I just don't feel like it today. And that's okay too. Sometimes you're just not going to feel like it, but let us be a reminder to each other. That's why the power of community is so strong and important, as you know, from the Mujeron movement, that if we have like-minded women that help each other, uplift each other, want to help one another thrive and feel good, then we just do better naturally together as a group. We uplift each other. So surround yourself with other women that have the same mindset as you, connect with them, share healthy recipes with them. Say, hey, do you want to go on a walk, or do you want to meditate together, or do you want to go dancing, or whatever, gardening, or whatever it is, and that helps us really accept ourselves the way that we are. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that we don't want to change our body. That means we accept our bodies the way that we are, and we're working towards a different phase in our journey.
Yes. And I like that you said, write it down, right? How do you feel right now? And I think that's probably the best way to be real with ourselves and tell
Mm-hmm.
ourselves, like, hey, I'm not in the best place in my life. I know I can be doing better. Maybe I'm not feeling energetic. Maybe I'm not getting enough sleep. And
Right.
that's when you realize, like, okay, this might be a time where I can put a little bit more effort into changing the things that I want to improve. So I definitely agree with you. I think it's all in how we're feeling and how we're doing. And ultimately, it's about health and how we can also give that feeling to others, right? Because I feel that when we're in our best health and our wellness journey, we kind of pass that on to the people around us. And I think that it's such an amazing part of it. So I want to go into a little bit about consistency. And I think we kind of touched on it a little bit. But how do you think we can be able to change and make it a lifestyle instead of making it like a band-aid fix?
Yes. That is actually a really good question. The first thing that I have to say is once we get out of the restricted mentality and we don't say this is a new diet that I'm on, or this is a new like eating plan or whatever, it just becomes easy. And I like to call that being flexitarian. You know that a lot of people like to say like, oh, I'm vegetarian or I'm pescatarian or I'm da 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 da. How about we're flexitarian? And that's okay, right? Like some days you eat, yeah, like let's be flexitarian. Like I'm flexible. And when you're flexible, you naturally stick to things longer. It's like a human condition. It's unbelievable. And everybody could research this. And when we get out of that mentality of I can't eat this, I'm not allowed to eat that, you naturally stick to things differently because you don't feel like there's like this restriction, right? So my first advice is to just look at food and ask yourself, how does this serve a purpose, right? Whether that's I'm trying to reduce my cholesterol, I'm trying to improve my diabetes. I'm trying to get off diabetes medication, which I have a lot of clients who are that, or I'm trying to reduce inflammation, or whatever it is, right? Whatever your goal is, and you look at your plate of food, and you're like, how is this plate of food serving me? Versus, how is this plate of food going to help me lose weight? You see the difference? Right? So when we ask ourselves those questions, we choose differently, right? So it's like, okay, maybe I can have malanga instead of potato because it has more potassium, which will be better for blood pressure, right? I can have malanga because it has more fiber, so it's going to help me stay full longer versus a potato, which will probably spike my insulin levels, right? And then I'm going to have some dark leafy greens with some healthy fat and some nuts and some seeds. And then maybe I'm going to have some lean meat because the protein is going to give me energy and help me stay full longer as well, right? So now your choices are based on what your health goals are. And they're not getting skinny. They are either getting, like I said, getting off medication or being healthy. You see what you see? So my point is that when we switch our relationship with food in that way, and we look at food as how it's serving our purpose to be healthier, we naturally choose differently versus I no puedo comer esto because esto me engorda.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the next time you look at a plate of food, or our viewers look at a plate of food, this is an exercise that I like to teach my clients. I'm like, look at it and say, how are all of these things on this plate going to serve me? And that is how you fall in love with foods that love you back, right? Because I'm not telling you don't eat the cake, right? If you want to have un pedazo de bizcocho de cumpleaños, you could totally have a piece of birthday cake. It's totally fine. But ask yourself the question, and you're like, okay, well, this has a lot of sugar, and I know, but I'm also enjoying my life, so I'm going to have a little bit of it, and then that's it. And then everything shifts. The relationship with food shifts.
I was actually gonna ask you about like having those foods that you enjoy, right? And having those a lot of people call them like cheat meals. I like
Oh,
treat meals because like you're treating yourself
yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
But I think that obviously we have to be realistic, especially coming from a Latino background. Like we love those flan and pasteles and everything. So how what you mentioned right now, just really allowing yourself to still have it, but not allow yourself to get to the point where you just ate half of the cake and you feel horrible next time. How do you really are able to do that in the moment?
Sure. So I like to promote a 90-10 lifestyle. 90% of the time, you eat as clean as you possibly can. Also, taking into consideration that there are also going to be times in your life where you can't eat the same way you would eat at home, or if you would have bought the groceries, and that's okay. Let's not become prisoners of our own body to the point that it affects our social life. Because at the end of the day, food is pleasure. Food brings us together. The Latina community, we we share so many beautiful memories around the dinner table, around food, around holidays that revolve around food. So let's not become prisoners of a way of life. Let's be flexitarian, right? And enjoy the things that we like in moderation, knowing that the pasteles, the buñuelos, the flan, or whatever it is, isn't exactly in line with our health goals, but it's still life. It's still pleasure, right? So we enjoy a little bit and we think about it. We're like, okay, well, now I know that if I'm eating something that's super sugary, it's very possible that in the next 2 hours, I'm going to be hungry again. But it's not because I'm hungry, it's because my sugar insulin increased. So if you know those things, then you're able to make better choices, right? So maybe in 2 hours, when you're like hungry again, maybe you'll have some water, maybe you can have a salad, maybe you can have some nuts and a piece of fruit, things like that, rather than going for another piece of pastel or another buñuelo or another ice cream or whatever it is, right? You're conscious and you're aware of how these foods affect your body. Refined sugar, processed foods, all of these desserts, which are made with those things, are going to spike your blood sugar levels, are going to make you hungrier faster. But if you know that already, then you're going to counteract that with something healthy so that you don't go on that hamster wheel of not being able to control what comes after that, right? So you enjoy it. You know, my husband and I go out to dinner on Fridays, and sometimes my daughter will say, I want pizza. And I'm like, okay, let's go for pizza. But we always have a salad on the table. And, you know, I love to put salad on my pizza, and I'll have a glass of wine, but I'll also have a glass of water, and I'll have more salad than pizza. So I had pizza with my family. I enjoyed it, right? And then I move on. It doesn't become this thing that I cheated. Now I'm going to cheat for the rest of the weekend and I'll start on Monday again. No, I enjoyed a meal with my family. After the meal was over, that's the end of that. Tomorrow, when I eat again, I go back to eating how I eat to feel good. And
Yeah.
that's the key, right? Because a lot of people do really good Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday at lunch. And then Friday dinner, fiesta, right?
Vicious cycle, man.
It's the vicious cycle. And then Friday night, you start with the cocktails. And this Saturday, you're like, ya se jodió la dieta. Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday, you feel bloated. You're constipated. Your pants don't fit for work. And you're like, I'm going to start on a diet. And then you're like, I'm going to start my diet again. Change the script. Change it. Olvídate de eso. Enjoy in moderation and keep it moving. The next meal shouldn't be a meal that has an overabundance of refined foods or processed, whatever it is. Make it as clean as possible. And even when you go out to dinner, just try to make the best choices that you can. You know, Like if something is fried, maybe you ask for it grilled. Or if there isn't a vegetable on your plate, maybe you ask for a vegetable. Remember that vegetables have a lot of fiber. Fiber fills you up more. So always remember, have leafy greens on your plate, order a salad whenever possible, have grilled vegetables with your meat. Even if you're going to have something like fried chicken or a pizza, you should always have a veggie. Always. And make that part of your lifestyle. This is not even so, and at the end, you're not even going to think about it. It just becomes part of who you are. And then your children are watching, right? The kids are watching, and then the husbands or the wives, they're like, what do you got over there? Because people are always paying attention. Always. They're like, what are you doing? You're not on a diet anymore? And you're like, no, this is my lifestyle. I no longer diet. And they're like, oh, I want that. Tell me about it. And then you talk to other people about it, and it becomes a ripple effect, right? And it's such a liberating way of life. It really is. It's such a liberating way to live. And I feel like all Latinas need to hear this. Like, we don't need to live in fajas, on juice cleanses, drinking shakes, killing ourselves at the gym. Like, let's free ourselves from that. Let's go back to basics, eating natural fruits, vegetables, herbs, and spices that are all part of our culture, which are incredibly amazing for our health. And let's break free from diet culture. Let's love and accept our bodies. And let's start all over again with a new narrative, with a new story, and pave the next generation for our children and our children's children.
I love this, Karla. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. I know it's going to help a lot of people, even just thinking about it. Recently, I kind of decided to take on this just more of a lifestyle, right? Rather than doing this all or nothing mentality. So definitely this is something that resonates with me. Ladies, let us know on YouTube or on our IG if this resonated with you too. You can find Karla at the Latina Health Coach. Anything you have coming up?
Yes, so I do lives on my Instagram at the Latina Health Coach once a month, where I bring other experts to just talk about, ways that we can improve this lifestyle, ways that we can add tools to our toolbox. Today, we are going to have a style expert. We're going to talk about the clothes. On another podcast, I had, different just different experts in like the whole health and wellness world, and just, or other health coaches or nutritionists that are also Latinas, that they share healthy recipes with us. On my page, I share plant-based recipes because I am plant-based, but that doesn't mean that I try to convert my clients into going plant-based. I just want to encourage you to eat more veggies. I want to teach you why. I want to teach you how they affect your body in a positive way, so that you choose them more than not. And that doesn't mean that that I don't want you to eat meat, or that you're not going to eat meat. That just means I'm going to remind you of the malanga, the yautía, la yuca, el ñame. And you're going to say, oh, yeah, I forgot about these veggies. Oh, this is amazing. And then I'm like, yeah, they have calcium, potassium, fiber, protein. Don't forget about them. Put them in your plate. And, you're going to feel so good. So I also teach cooking classes that are super fun. And they're always with a Latina twist. So watch out for that. And I post all of these things on my Instagram and on my website, which is www.karlasalinari.com. And for the people that live in New York City, I'm on Telemundo every Thursday between 6 and 6:30, just sharing important tips and recipes in Spanish. And again, just trying to connect with the Latino community as much as I can, and just sharing the message as much as I can.
And we will definitely put everything on the show notes so that you guys can follow her. If you want to ask any questions, make sure you reach out to her. Karla, thank you so much for the work you're doing. And ladies, there you have it, the Latina Health Coach. We will talk to you guys next week.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye.